The beautiful thing about the NFL is as much as we try to get rid of running backs in this league, time always tells that, like, no, bro, you got to run the ball. You can't not be able to run the ball. It doesn't matter how good your passing attack is. You have to at least threaten the defense with a run game. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's another great day to discuss other people's excellence. I'm the unforgettable one himself, Mr. Brett Carroll. Charles is always daydreaming. We're two guys that like BSN at work. All right. That's our weekly football pod. We love listening to you guys, the fans, because without y'all, there is no us. And one of the things that one of the critiques people says, hey, man, love what you guys are doing, but like you guys talk about your teams too much. There's other teams in the league. We don't want to hear updates on the Steelers, Panthers, and Giants every week. And we said, you know what? You're right. We should do a better.
Less so the Giants because they're a good team this year.
All right, yeah, but it's we need to do a better job of expanding our catalog to other teams. And this week you're in luck because the Giants and the Steelers want to bye, and the Panthers game was over after the first quarter. So we don't need to talk about anything that much about those teams. I do want to talk about the Bengals for sure.
We need to talk about the Bengals. Joe Mixon had a day.
He had a day, and he was on my fantasy team, and I am very, very excited. I do have one winky Panthers question, but this is more like a question of the day thing. I want to start doing these as well, get more engagement out of the fans. So let's do this real quick. When a couple of weeks ago, when they traded Christian McCaffrey, everybody said, okay, it's it. This is the fire sale. They're going to get rid of all their players. The three in particular were Brian Burns, DJ Moore, Shaq Thomas. The Panthers came out like right away and said, no, we're not trading Brian Burns or DJ Moore. We think they're foundational pieces for our team moving forward. I don't remember if they endorsed Shaq Thomas as well, but they obviously didn't trade him. Well, reportedly came out a couple of days ago, the Rams offered a lot for Brian Burns. When I say a lot, it was a second-round pick this year because they don't have a first-round pick, but a first-round pick in 2024 and a first-round pick in 2025. And so if they would have made that trade along with all the trades they already made, the McCaffrey trade and everything like that, they would have had a first-round pick this year, not one, not two, but 3 second-round picks this year. And then obviously a third to 2 fourths. And then next year, 2024, they would have had 2 first-round picks, as well as 2 fifth-round picks. And then the year after that, they would have had 2 firsts and 2 sevenths. So the question is, now, here's 2 sides of this. I'm not a big proponent of just trading all your good players away for picks because eventually you're going to have to replace those good players, right? And it's like, okay, picks are great, but you don't know what those picks are going to turn into. And like I said, you're going to have to replace the good players. So for instance, one of the Panthers' issues is over the last couple of years, they haven't been able to find a good pass rusher alongside Brian Burns. So yeah, that's great. You could trade Brian Burns, but now you got to get 2 pass rushers instead of 1. However, like I said, I just named off all the picks that they would have gotten. And I think the other caveat is this: if you would have traded Brian Burns, you probably would have also traded DJ Moore at that point. Because why not? Because you could have gotten a first-round pick for DJ Moore. So you probably would have had 2 first-round picks, 3 second-round draft picks, and at least 2 fourths. You might have gotten a first and a third for DJ Moore. So I guess the question is not just to you, Charles, but to you in general audience, would you have made the deal?
Brett, you think you're really slick. You start off like, oh, we listen to people. I listen to people. I'm taking your feedback. I'm not going to talk about the Panthers. So my first topic is about the Panthers. That's exactly what I said.
I'm not going to talk solely about our team. We're going to talk about
and I think it's a missed opportunity.
It's a quick question of the day.
I think that's a missed opportunity. To answer your question, I think it's a missed opportunity because that trade package is good. The Panthers are obviously rebuilding, and they sucked, honestly. Just to get that many high picks for a pass rusher, I think that'd work out because I think you're gonna waste his prime. What the Panthers are actually going to end up doing, like they've done with a lot of talent over the last, ever since, they lost the Super Bowl, really. So, yeah, that's a missed opportunity. I would have took that. Especially, but then again, you said the Rams. How do they have any picks? They don't have any picks.
They don't have a first rounder this year. Well, here's the ironic thing: the Rams are like, "Yo, bro, we don't want our first round picks." So that's why they were. That's why it was only a second this year because their first is going to Detroit. But next year they were supposed to have first round picks again. They said, "No, don't worry about it. We'll give you our next 2 years worth of first round picks." So it would have been a second this year, a first in 2024, and a first in 2025.
I would have took that. So.
Yeah, I think it's one of those weird things. On the surface, I don't think I would have taken it. But like I said, when you total up in totality, all the picks that you would have gotten with the Christian McCaffrey trade and the Robbie Anderson trade,
you could rebuild in 2
now
years.
this, I think you should have taken that trade. I think you could have. That's a lot of picks. And then, like I said, I think the other caveat to this is you would have had to trade DJ Moore at that point, but that's fine because you could have gotten a first round pick for DJ Moore. So I'll take 9 picks in the first 4 rounds of the 2023 draft. You know what I mean? Especially since going into the season, the Panthers only had 4 picks total in this draft. With those 2 potential trades, they could have had 9 picks in the first 4 rounds. Yeah, you don't want to do that because you really are burning it down to the studs at that point. But when you have 9 picks,
burning down, they're 2 and 7. What are you burning?
No, I understand.
I was saying this to you last year, just to be clear to everybody. When it was my team, I said the same thing. If you only have 2 wins and it's not looking like you're getting any more, there's not that much to save. I don't care who you like on your team. The team is not that good, and you're going to need to rebuild anyway. So either you waste people's talents, like I'll use my own team for an example, like the Giants were doing with Odell and then Saquon. You're just wasting this talent on this terrible team. And now you have defensive talent on the Panthers that might be able to bring you in 2 firsts. Bye. No offense. Like, talent is talent, but bye. Let him go, not waste his prime on a contending NFC team. Air quotes for people that might just be listening. But yeah, I don't know what else to say about that, especially because the team they played this weekend, the Bengals, Joe Mixon had a career day. That game, jersey or whatever, probably going to be in Canton. Because what do you have? 3 touchdowns before the first half or something crazy-ish like that?
No, I think he had 4 before. I think he had 4 before halftime. They were down 35-0, and I think he had all 4. I think he had 4 to 5 touchdowns.
That's stupid. Like Joe Mixon props, because I remember when we were doing our previews, he was the me and you were kind of like, oh, and they have Joe Mixon, who's, by the way, not a bum. Like, we might have sounded condescending, but.
Well, no, it's fun. Yeah, we think about, no, you're right. And when we think of the Bengals, we think about that passing attack because of all those receivers we have, obviously because of the quarterback, and to be fair, because of the system. For some reason, they don't like running the ball, and they have a good running back. And I think that's when they've run into problems where look, the NFL, the beautiful thing about the NFL is as much as we try to get rid of running backs in this league, time always tells that, like, no, bro, you got to run the ball. You can't not be able to run the ball. We saw that with the Bills, and we'll get to that game later. But it doesn't matter how good your passing attack is. You have to at least threaten the defense with a run game, right? And so when they run the ball, the statistics show they're just a better team because they're way less predictable and they're harder to stop.
22 attempts, 153 yards, 7 per average per carry, 4 touchdowns. Joe Mixon's
that was rushing, and then he caught one, I think. Yeah, because he had 5 touchdowns, so he caught one, and so it's one of those things where the Bengals were struggling offensively out of the gate, and a lot of people weren't understanding why. But part of it was because they just, thought that, oh my God, we are this offensive juggernaut in the passing game. We don't even have to run the ball. And they became predictable. And they became, a team that, all right, well, we're just going to have, 20 defensive backs on the field. And we know you have great wide receivers, but we'll put so many defensive backs, we could double team them all, and you won't be able to do anything offensively. Now they're realizing, well, hold on, if we mix in the run game, you can't do that. And I think Jamar Chase's injury has kind of forced them to start doing that as well. Where it's like, okay, well, we don't have all of our horses on the outside. We have no choice but to mix this up. I'm not gonna lie, they're looking scary. They're looking scary. This is the offense that we saw last year. Remember, they started out the gate slow last year as well, and kind of started to build up momentum towards the playoffs. We're starting to see that again this year. And so
I think the Bengals would take catching heat and being hot in December over September 100 out of 100 times. And I'll get off to a slow start. Our teams have gotten off to slow starts and won it all. So you know that Joe Burrow isn't tripping, that he's still in playoff contention and people are writing off his team. The Bengals are a team or an organization or a fan base that thrive off being the underdog. If they're the underdog and you count them out, they're going to punch you in the face. They're one of those organizations, similar to what the Eagles were for a while, that if once they're the big dog in the division, they don't know what to do anymore. They need to be the baby face chasing the title, not the one holding the title, to keep that mojo. So they need that underdog aura around them. And the Bengals are just the only bigger underdogs in football besides the Bengals, it feels like, are the Lions. So the chance that they have, that organization, that fan base knows as long as Joe Burrow is under center, they actually have a chance to win. And the Bengals are one of the few teams in the league that look at the Bills and the Chiefs like, well, we got to go through you. And they did already. So they have the confidence that, hey, we could beat these guys. So if they get healthy and they're healthy by January, what are we doing? You know what I mean? Like, for real, like, what do we think that the AFC is going to be? It's just going to be this triple threat, which I'm fine with. It's going to be this triple threat of the Bengals, the Bills, and the Chiefs.
It's what we thought it was going to be. You know what I mean? Going into the season, we thought it was going to – the only difference is a lot of people thought, well, maybe the Chargers will enter their hat in the race.
You know, any of the other AFC West teams.
Right.
Because me personally, I know I was telling you, I was like, yo, stop sleeping on the Raiders. And now we realize how much that coach was actually doing work last year, because the hell's going on now? You know what I mean? But the Chargers are interesting. They're another one to keep the eye out.
Yeah,
you don't want to rule out them as long as
they're just been injured. If they could get healthy by the playoffs, that would be scary as well. So yeah, the Bengals have been killing it. The Jets, man. I mean, bravo.
Real quick, before we go to the Jets, because I feel like that's our local stuff, so me and you can actually just start going off on tangents about the Jets. Another historic day yesterday was Justin Fields. And I just want to tell you, I wasn't, or yeah, yesterday, 2 days ago, was Justin Fields. And I have him on a couple of fantasy teams, a sleeper league, a keeper league, and then just a regular league. And I was a fan of his in college. I set that up just to say, I never felt older than getting the notification on Sunday that Michael Vick's record was broken. Like, I never thought it would happen, just being serious. I know records are made to be broken, but that was just one of those records, especially QB rushing. Like,
well, you know, first of all, I'm surprised Lamar Jackson didn't break it already.
I'm not surprised that he didn't break it. I'm just surprised it wasn't him if it was going to get broken. You know what I mean? Like Lamar Jackson did, that's my point. Lamar Jackson didn't do it. So I didn't expect to see Justin Fields do it. And the funniest part is the Dolphins coach they caught him just yelling, "Can you stop? Just stop," on the sidelines to him, which is just hilarious, because at the end of the day, that's what else are you going to say to him when he's walking past you? You're like, please stop. Like, what the hell is your problem?
You stop running the ball.
Stop the damn ball. Like, you're a quarterback. Just throw the ball.
But stop it. We can't stop you. So stop yourself.
I don't have a QB spy in my book right now.
But anyway. I do want to talk about the Bears today. I'm very happy for Justin Fields. As you know, I have a golden rule: do not touch Ohio State quarterbacks. But with that being said, it's only because they haven't proven to pan out in the league. I root for all of them, especially the black ones, because I'm not one of these weird ass motherfuckers that root against people I don't even know, right?
How many white Ohio State quarterbacks have there been in recent memory? Being serious.
Huh?
How many white Ohio State quarterbacks have there been in recent memory?
I don't know.
Exactly. That's what I said, especially when they're black. I'm like, to Ohio State's credit, like, I only remember black quarterbacks.
Well, no. I'm just talking about, I guess I meant quarterbacks in general. I root for you if you're black. So, but yeah.
Like, they've had a black quarterback since Terrell Pryor, at least, right?
Yeah, the more I think about it, I literally can't even think.
Yeah, being serious. I'm not trying to be funny. Like, when you said, like, when you said it, I was like, who was the last white quarterback that went to the league from Ohio State? And I think I'm in middle school now or something. Like, if my brain went back, I
Honestly,
was
to
like,
be
wait.
very honest, I can't think of a last white quarterback to play for Ohio State, period, let alone went to the league. No more did you say that. Go Ohio State. But anyway,
Big Ten, baby.
yeah, fuck Ohio State. The point of the matter is
You went to Ohio State.
I went to Ohio University, and you know that.
Oh, okay.
And you know this. The point I'm making is that, I just haven't seen it in the league. And with Justin Fields, I was hoping to break the mold because, again, once you break the mold, then it's like, okay, cool. I can tell my team to draft an Ohio State quarterback if they need be, a la the Panthers and maybe CJ Stroud coming up in this draft. But Justin Fields wasn't looking good, and I knew it wasn't because of Justin Fields. That Bears offense is horrible. They didn't have an offensive line. They didn't have weapons. They don't even really have. They have decent running backs at best. And I was like, well, what, once again,
did you get the man some help?
Right. And what I love about what Justin Fields has done is he's basically said, you know what, y'all not gonna make me look like a bust because I know that's not what I am. I know I'm good. And if I got to run for 100 yards a game to prove it, I will. And some of the runs he was making yesterday, it's insane because the ironic part about it, and good for him, is we don't think of him like this. We don't think of him as this run first quarterback. Part of the reason why he got drafted was because of the quote unquote arm talent and the quote unquote innate abilities to both run and throw. Yes, running was part of his game, but it's not like he was Lamar Jackson. It's not like he was I'm trying to think of who's the other guy.
Oh, that other one.
Even Trey Lance, like a lot of people were like, yeah, we know he's going to be a runner first before.
It's telling that you couldn't remember Trey. You know what I mean? I'm just saying, especially because you're the dope draft dude, right? So it's just funny all the hype these quarterbacks get, and we've been doing the dope blog long enough now that you can't remember Trey Lance. All the hype I'm including myself into it, that we apply to some of these dudes coming out of college, man.
And by the way, speaking of that draft, because they were all in the same draft class, I said y'all are idiots for passing on Justin Fields. I said that. I said this was once again NFL racism, because if Justin Fields was white and Trevor Lawrence was black, going into that draft, Trevor Lawrence would have dropped and Justin Fields would have been the number one pick in the draft. I said that. If you looked at their resumes, especially since, remember, they came in the number one and number two recruits out of high school, both came into college football at the same time. And if you look at their resumes from their freshman year to by the time they entered the league, if you were to look at Justin Fields' resume, he should have been the number one pick in the draft. And if you look,
and to be fair, that like Trevor Lawrence, I got a couple Jags on my fantasy teams, man. I didn't used to have multiple Jaguars on your fantasy team and have a winning record on your fantasy team. So I'm just saying, I just want to throw that out there. He's getting the ball to his wide receivers. They're making the run game.
Trevor Lawrence doesn't look like a bust, but what I'm saying is,
oh yeah, I'm just pointing out, like, to your point, Trevor Lawrence hasn't gotten the same. Ironically, I'm saying ironically, because you were right about the draft, but he has not gotten any benefit of the doubt when it comes to the Jaguars. Like, I'm surprised. I thought we would have to be like, hey, we should criticize him so he does improve. He's got nothing but criticism, and it's like, are you guys just ignoring his rookie year? Like, how there was nothing but chaos that whole time? And it's not like the Jaguars are, the Blake Bortles Jaguars out here. You know what I mean? Like, they look competent at times, but
that's the league, man. Is, once you're in the league, we don't care what you did in college. We want to see how you perform. And to be fair, he's been up and down. I don't, he hasn't been horrible, but he's been inconsistent. And so the point is, I'm just happy
for consistent. Zach Wilson, sorry, I couldn't resist. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, and the point is, I'm happy for Justin Fields playing well. I'm also happy they lost because I want their pick. Thank you for the second round pick, Chicago. And what I did love, and not that I hate Chase Claypool, I like Chase Claypool. I love how Bears fans are complaining because they thought it should have been a pass interference on that last call against Chase Claypool. And when I look at the replay, I said, it's almost as if Chase Claypool would have high pointed the football, he would have caught it. Instead, he let the ball come to him and the defender knocked it away. Where have I seen that before? Hey, Chicago, Chase Claypool has all the talent in the world, bro. Y'all better coach him up because the boy don't know how to play receiver. I just go and say that. But anyway, congratulations to the Bears. I hope this is what I hope for the rest of the year. I hope we continue to see maturation and Justin Fields getting better and better and better. But I hope y'all lose. Sorry, not sorry. I'm being selfish here. It's just I want a better draft pick. You mentioned Zach Wilson. I do want to talk about that Jets game and the Bills game. The Bill. Let's start with the Bills.
Well, I said Zach Wilson because if we're talking about inconsistent, quarterback play, Zach Wilson just comes to mind. And the reason the Jets are where they are is because of every position but the quarterback. That defense is looking like the defense is the best it's looked since Rex Ryan was the head coach. And I'm saying that as a compliment. I'm a Rex Ryan fan, and that defense hasn't had this type of feel since then. Since before they were like, oh, get Rex out of here, when Rex was still going up stock-wise. This Jets team with Sauce Gardner, they got Mosley back. This defense was fun to watch, and they punched their rival in the mouth. And that they look real. The Jets defense looks real, kind of like how the Dolphins offense looks real, just keep it in the AFC East. Like, you could talk a lot of shit about these quarterbacks, but the play of this side of the ball has been undeniable. And when it comes to the Jets, part of the
class is shaping up to be a very interesting look of how we look at drafts, because you are one of, and I think we represent this, right? I've been following this stuff closely. I see the rise and fall of this stuff. You don't pay attention to it because you're like, yo, and I get what you're meaning is like, bro, why are we doing this? You watch the games. We're overthinking this. Why is the combine that important? Why the pro is that important? Right? And we can have our philosophical differences on it. We're seeing this play out, right? Because on one hand, your Giants benefited because Evan Neal and Kayvon Thibodeau should have been the top 2 picks in the draft. They fell to you at 5 and 7, and they're both making an impact on your team, right? The Jets got Sauce Gardner at 4. He was not supposed to be a top 4 pick. And matter of fact, he shouldn't have been there because the Texans probably should have taken him at 3. They did the old school way of thinking of Derek Stingley coming into this draft was supposed to be a top 3 pick. We're not going to let the hoopla dissuade us from saying that Derek Stingley is not a top 3 pick. And they took Derek Stingley at 3. So it's an interesting dynamic of, well, maybe there is such a thing as risers and fallers, or maybe there is such a thing as no, people are where they're supposed to be. And from my last time I checked, Derek Stingley has been playing well for the Texans, but obviously the Texans are 1 in a billion, so who gives a fuck? But apparently he's been playing well for them either. So I don't think so. It's not that I think that they regret taking Derek Stingley, but Sauce Gardner is already looking like he might be one of, if not the best corner in football right now.
Sauce Gardner is defensive rookie of the year right now.
Yeah.
And I'm saying that as somebody that was hoping it would be Kayvon Thibodeau. Now, obviously, if he wins it, I'm going to be biased and be happy about it. But as an objective fan of the sport, Sauce looks like Revis. Like he has that vibe to him. And I'm not, and a big part of that is because he's playing for the Jets. I understand that. But let's be real, man. He's playing shutdown corner, and he's a rookie.
And I think he, they call him Sauce for a reason. I think he's bringing a swagger to that defense too. Like his level of play, the fact that he's talking trash, the fact that he makes big plays when you need them the most. I think that defense really thrives on that. So, I mean, he's bringing it. He really is. And like I said, this is going to be, I'm very interested to see, 5-10 years from now, when we look back at this draft class, because this was literally a social experiment about how should we draft these players. Do we fall in love with the combine hype, right? Because you had a guy like Trayvon Walker, who wasn't even considered a first-round draft pick, will go number 1 overall. And Aiden Hutchinson, who's supposed to be like a top 10 draft pick, go 2 overall. over guys like Evan Neal and Kayvon Thibodeau. If Evan Neal and Kayvon Thibodeau both become Hall of Famers, right? A lot of people are going to say, how the hell did you let them fall this far, especially knowing what we knew that they were supposed to be the top picks. But if Sauce Gardner becomes the best corner out of that class over Derek Stingley, that's going to be interesting because Houston will forever be looked at as the team that passed on him for Derek Stingley. So that's going to be an interesting thing. But I love
Stingley could be good and he'd still be looked at like that.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's interesting. It really is interesting, and I'm loving. And really, it depends on who you get drafted by, really. Because if Sauce Gardner was killing it for Houston, Houston probably would still only have one win. And if Derek Stingley was just playing well for the Jets might still have the same record, and we'd be saying the same thing. See, this is why you don't fall for the pre draft hype. You don't do it. And so that's just how it goes. But it's going to be an interesting commentary. I'm at a point now, man. And obviously, Mock Draft Mondays, if you haven't seen it, go check it out. I'm at a point now, because you talk about Zach Wilson, depending on how their season ends, if I'm the Jets, I might consider going quarterback in the first round, depending on who falls and everything like that.
Or going after, like, who's to say they'll try to put something together for Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, or going after a veteran.
Like Lamar Jackson might get franchised, and if they have the assets and they're like, hey, Ravens, or Jimmy Garoppolo, or somebody that just established, because the irony was, talking about Jimmy Garoppolo, the biggest criticism I heard about him when talking about, hey, maybe New York should trade for him, either New York. And they said, oh, he needs a good team around him. Well, if the Jets continue and Breece Hall comes back, that's a good team around him. Go get Jimmy G. Yeah, because they're not keeping Jimmy G.
They might have to consider that, man, because if Zach Wilson is going to continue to play the way he's playing and be more, known for what he does with teammates' mothers instead of what he does on the field, then he's holding you back. And you might have to, and again, imagine if they had Justin Fields. Just saying, if you would have taken Justin Fields with the number 2 pick like you should have.
Well, the combine's so important, bro. Zach Wilson, he was just so impressive. Look at all these highlights of him at BYU that now all of a sudden during the combine, he's the most amazing thrower of all time. He's pretty much Mormon Mahomes. Like, look at him. That's what every year with this bullshit. And like, then I'm a hater because I'm like, what? He went to BYU though. Why am I just hearing about him now? That's because you don't pay attention. That's how college football works. So, it's just more of the same. And Zach Wilson is one of those dudes that was just annoying to me because all the Jets fans, mind you, I've had Daniel Jones, a quarterback I didn't want this whole time. So there's been 2 quarterbacks on the team across the hall that the fans were like, oh, we got our guy in the future. You're stuck with Danny Dimes. How you feel now? And here we are. Daniel Jones looking like he's coming back next year, if I'm being honest. And the Jets might be getting the 3rd QB just on Daniel Jones's rookie deal, which wouldn't be his rookie deal next year. But here we are. So sometimes you can't predict this shit because Daniel Jones shouldn't have been a 1st-round pick. And here he is starting in the league for 4 years. So
insane. And then in that same game, I think the Bills got exposed too. I think the Bills, and this is why when I did
exposed?
Yes, I'm exposed.
I don't know about that, homie.
Here's what now when I say
divisional
exposed,
game, bro. Divisional.
No. Here's what I mean by exposed. Remember when I did my trade deadline specials, when we did that, I put them as a loser. And you asked me why. I said, bro, they needed to go out and get a better running back. The problem is they cannot run the football. If Josh Allen isn't running, they can't run the football. And it's the same thing with the Bengals. I don't care how good you are. If you are that one-dimensional, eventually it's going to catch up to you. And yes, when you play the Chiefs, who also kind of don't want to run the football, it's fine. You can get into a shootout like that. Plus, the Chiefs' defense isn't that good. But the Bills, to me, are one of those teams that they're going to crush everybody, but they're going to play that one team that can defend on the perimeter well enough. You don't have to be great at it, but just well enough to slow that offense down, and they're going to be in trouble. Again, even last year when the Steelers beat them week 1 in the season, they threw the ball. I think it was like 55 times in that game, and we were able to control Josh Allen, keep it close, And we end up winning that football game because at the end of the day, they just don't run the football. And unlike the Bengals, who have a really good running back, who their philosophy is just not running the football, with the Bills, it's just that they have decent backs at best, which is why I put them as a loser at the trade deadline. I'm like, bro, you're the Bills. You guys are really freaking good. Who cares if it costs a first rounder? Like, go get Alvin Kamara. Go get who else? Who else was there was somebody else available? I can't remember. But go get a premier back to make yourself that, because if they could just run the ball decently, now you can't stop them. And on Sunday, the Jets said, yo, man, you could throw it as much as you want. We know we can guard you on the perimeter. We know this. And not only do we know this, because we can guard you on the perimeter, now we can put pressure on you. And now Josh Allen might be hurt. And this is all because the Bills don't run the football well. And so I feel bad for Bills fans because they're one of the greatest fans, not just in football, but in all of sports. But I can see it now where Bills fans are like, yo, man, are we cursed? Like, this was supposed to be our year. And if his elbow's fucked up, what the hell? And it's because y'all refuse to go get it. What do you need a first round pick for, Charles? For what? What are you drafting in the first round? Who are you drafting?
The Bills? I don't even know what position they need. Ironically, they probably draft running back right now.
But that's my point. Like, who are you getting in the first round that would have been a game changer for this team? Like, bro, I just don't understand.
Not in this draft. Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't know. Not like I would know the draft right now anyway. But it's not like they need a wide receiver like that. It's not like they need a tight end like that. Unless there was some,
you're picking gem of a. And it's not like they had a top 10 draft pick. You're picking, you should be picking late 20s, maybe early 30s. So it's like, who are you getting there that would have been the game changer for next year when you're trying to win this year? Go overpay for a running back, for a veteran running back that you know can help you. And again, especially a guy like Kamara, because not only can you run with him, but he's a great pass catcher anyway. So now he helped you in the passing game even more.
Dalvin Cook, was that the other rumor?
I doubt Dalvin Cook would have been dealt because they're 7-1. So I doubt that would have
been.
No,
but I'm saying, was he the other one that was rumored? Because there was somebody else, and now I can't remember it either.
I can't think. Alvin Kamara was linked to a lot of teams, Philly, Buffalo, but there's another team that's struggling right now that has a good running back, and I can't think of who it is. Or has at least like a decent running back. That's like, yeah, like they probably would have moved on from him for the right price.
And the only other person that
even Denver, like, go trade for Melvin Gordon or something like that. They have 3 running backs. Trade for
and not a running back, but Brandon Cooks was another person that could have been moved that wasn't. And it was more about just loading up for the Bills, I think, than just the run game. Because if you can get creative now and have wide receivers do designed runs and have them be effective if you're just imaginative enough. Andy Reid has showed that. You give him a third string wide receiver, it'll show you a running back. But I don't know, man. I don't feel like the Bills are losers. I don't feel like, trust me, if next week we see the same thing, if Josh Allen's healthy or yada, 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 then maybe I'll concede this point. Right now, I just don't want to read too much into a rivalry game.
Well, no, here's the thing. To be fair to
it's a good win for the Jets. Jets fans, be hyped. You deserve it.
No. Well, I guess my point is, I don't think, unlike the Bengals, I don't think you're going to see it every week because I think the Bills are just that much better than everybody else. I think Josh Allen is just that much better than everybody else, including Joe Burrow. But the problem with the Bills are eventually you're going to find that matchup. You know what I mean? You don't want to ever be that team that's like, hey, it's going to take a lot to beat us, but there are teams equipped to do it. You know what I mean? Like, even the Chiefs, there's a reason why the Chiefs have only won 1 Super Bowl. As good as they are, their defense isn't good enough, and they're not balanced enough on offense in the run game. So again, they are going to beat 99% of the teams, but it's going to be that one time they just match up, that matchup nightmare where if you can guard on the perimeter good enough, and again, because teams understand how important these wide receivers are, right? teams are doing two things. They're loading up on wide receivers and they're loading up on corners. So more and more teams are like, no. We need as many corners as we can. So that's the problem. If you're going to be this team that has all this offensive firepower on the perimeter, you have to have at least a decent run game. You have to, because eventually you're going to find a team that can match up well on the perimeter to slow you down. And then what? You know what I mean? Like, it's not like the Jets put up a 40 burger. Like, the Jets put up very decent amount of points and you still couldn't beat them. So that's my point. It's not. I don't think you're going to see this on a.
That Jets defense looks real though. You know what I mean? Like we have to level the argument a little bit. You know what I mean? Like there's truth to what you're saying, obviously. But I'm saying at the same time, there's a mixture of this is a rivalry game, and maybe this Jets defense is much better than we've been giving them credit for.
No, I get that. I guess my point is the goal is to win the Super Bowl. I think the Eagles could beat them. Why? Because the Eagles can not only score with them, but they can guard on the perimeter.
But there's people that think the Eagles are fugazi because they've had like a middling level difficulty schedule themselves and they're undefeated.
Yeah, that's true. Like I've been saying, it's because of the schedule. But the Eagles are also a good team. But my point is the goal is to win a Super Bowl, right? So yes, you can say, well, there's really only 2 or 3 teams that we think could beat us. Okay, but if the goal is to win a Super Bowl, you need to do whatever you can to make sure you could beat those 2 or 3 teams. I'm not saying anybody. Again, I understand it's easier said than done. Not everybody can guard Stephon Diggs. Not everybody can guard Gabriel Davis. You know what I mean? Like, but the teams that can do it, the teams that have the guys that can at least slow them down, now all of a sudden, you know what I mean? Like, you don't want to lose like that. That's all I'm saying. If you would have gotten a running back, now you're unstoppable. Now health is the only thing that could fuck you up because there's no team that could probably stop the run and guard on the perimeter the way they need to. I don't think there's any team that's good enough to do that, especially against this Bills team. That and they have the defense to slow the other team down as well. That's all I'm saying. I would just hate to see their lack of a run game come back to bite them in the playoffs because I'm gonna sit here and say, bro, why? Like, do whatever it takes to get a running back. Why would you waste a fantastic season like that? That's the only point I'm making. You know what I mean? But again, to your point, there's only a finite amount of teams that are going to be able to do that. You just want to make sure that you can eliminate them. You know what I mean? Like that's my point. Who else did we say we were going to talk about? We talked about the Jets.
We could talk about that.
Huh?
I said the Packers suck. We could talk about that.
Oh yeah, Packers, man. Trade Aaron Rodgers in the offseason. Just do it.
Ooh.
I did my mock draft. If you haven't seen it, spoiler alert, I have them not taking a wide receiver. I just have them. I keep saying this. I think there's just something there. There is an animosity there between quarterback and organization where I think they're just purposely negligently saying, no, you're so great, right? Figure it out. You're Aaron Rodgers, right? You're so damn good. Figure it out. And I think that's just stupid. You have a generational quarterback. You try to maximize that window. It's not like he's 24.
But at the same time, at what point does he bear some of this responsibility? Because the narrative has been he hasn't had help this whole time. And I remember this was the same narrative. He didn't have any help before Devonta Adams left. So he's had talent, but he, at no point. The Packers, their biggest problem at the same time is they've never made him be accountable. So when he was trash against the Lions and he loses against the Lions, who's in that locker room going to him, blaming him? Because he's the one that threw the interceptions. He's the one that made some bad throws.
Yeah, but their receivers aren't getting separation. You know what I mean? Like it's. But here's the thing.
I saw some of the highlights of that, and not everything was separation issues. Some of it was just bad.
Okay. But I also say this.
Delay of games in the last minute.
The reason why I'm blaming the organization and why a lot of people are blaming the organization, why do you have when you have a guy like Aaron Rodgers, right? Or any great quarterback, how do you go 10 years without drafting a first-round talent on offense? It's not even like they've drafted, like they've literally gone defense every single year for 10 years.
No, it hasn't been every single year for 10 years.
Yes, it has. Go back and look. The only offensive player in the last 10 years that they have drafted in the first round was Jordan Love.
What about Eddie Lacy?
He was a second-round pick.
Oh, okay.
He was a second-round pick. And so that's what I'm saying. Like, that's insane. That is insane. And that's where, and again, that's why, and you know me, I'm not even the biggest Rodgers fan. I again, but that's where I do side with Aaron Rodgers. Like, really? So you don't believe in drafting offensive players in the first round, but you're gonna trade up to get my replacement? Really? After we just went to the NFC title game, I can understand if we sucked, but we were just in the NFC title game and you did that. Then I had an MVP season. We got back, and you still went defense. Then we got to the NFC title and I won another MVP and went back again, and you still didn't draft one. And then Devontae Adams gets traded. We have 2 first-round picks, and you still went defense both times. Like that's what I'm saying. There's just an animosity at this point. To me, that's just being petty. That's just being petty. That makes
Maybe
no
the
sense.
organization told Aaron Rodgers relax.
Yeah, but that, I think it goes to show to, from one of the rumors that we heard, like one of the reasons why he wanted to leave is because they said, no, we'll make all the football decisions. Don't worry about it. And it's like, dude. And again, me and you have both preached accountability. We get that, right? Like, listen, we understand you pander to your star players, but like, Jesus Christ, treat them like adults as well. But that goes both ways. If you have a superstar generational quarterback on your team, how do you not at least consult with them? But hey,
there's a level of the Packers are completely spoiled with only missing the playoffs like 4 times in the last 20 years. There's a level of, well, we get to the playoffs anyway. We'll figure it out without you to management. There definitely is. I understand that the Packers definitely think that they're going to lose Aaron Rodgers and then they're going to have the next guy and they're still going to be a playoff team, despite the fact that the Vikings exist and despite the fact that it seems like the Bears finally found a quarterback. So I don't get it, but I also don't care because at least more recently, the Packers feel more like a Giants rival than the Bears do. Because I know a lot of the older generation Giants fans really dislike the Bears. Me personally, being born in '89, I just like the Packers more. You know what I mean? Like I don't hate the Bears. There's no animosity there for me. So to me, seeing the Packers just shoot themselves in the foot and Aaron Rodgers be an asshole and suck. Finally, Aaron Rodgers sucks. And seeing him suck against the Lions, man, it was sweet. I'm sorry. The fact that the Giants, the Jets, and the Lions beat Aaron Rodgers all in one effing season. The Vikings, too. All in one season. Sweet, man. It's sweet. Just saying. Like, part of you is happy that Tom Brady's starting to suck. He's still not like the worst because going into this past weekend or last weekend, he had 9 touchdowns and 1 interception. Like everyone's like, oh, he's over, it's done. It's like, imagine playing 7 weeks of football, or I'm sorry, 8 weeks of football, and you have 9 touchdowns and 1 interception. People are like, I think you should wrap it up. Look at this. Look at this trash.
This guy's horrible.
Tom Brady, you know what's crazy? We didn't lead with this. Tom Brady has 100,000 yards between the regular season and playoffs now. Let me repeat that. Tom Brady has 100,000 yards. That's nuts.
Honestly, to answer your question, I'm at a point now, ironically, and I think I told you this over the phone, like, no, don't suck now. I want you to be good. And until Kenny Pickett is like in his prime and he's really good, I want Tom Brady to be good. Seriously, like fuck that. Because all the Super Bowls you done cost my team because you want to be the ageless wonder. Don't suck now that my quarterback's retired. No. You continue to be good. Continue to torture the league. Maybe in a couple years, if Kenny Pickett becomes a star, then you can fall off a cliff and go retire somewhere. But until then, no, brother, you go win another Super Bowl, Tom Brady, because I'm not dealing with this bullshit. That is asinine.
The Bucks and the Rams don't look like they're contenders right now. Ain't nobody in the NFC look at the Bucks or the Rams with the same fear they had in the last couple previous seasons. for various reasons. You know what I mean? It could be a whole different vibe this time a month from now in December. So I want to throw that
I'm
out
not
there.
see. Here's the thing. I'm not sleeping on the Rams, bro. The Rams show interest in retooling. I think this is just a Super Bowl hangover. It happens. They also haven't been as healthy last year. And they need pass rush. That's why they, again, to start off the show, we said they've traded, the farm for Brian Burns. You don't think they're going to give that same offer to somebody else for their pass rusher? Like, so, or shit. Since you didn't want to take our draft pick, maybe we will go ahead and draft one. You know what I mean? So once they get a pass rush again, they're going to be dangerous. I think offensively, they've been injured. Their offensive line just isn't gelling yet. Again, I think they could fix that in the offseason. And Matthew Stafford's still relatively young. So, this might not be their year this year, but I would not sleep on them next year, depending, because they're not going to just sleep in the offseason. They're going to make moves. In terms of the Buccaneers, they're weird as well because it's also been injuries. I think Tom Brady, I think all the stuff with his wife has, that's a big deal, man. Like, you getting a divorce, like, that's not, like, Like, I don't wish that on anybody. That's not.
Well, I mean, like, you could have just retired and been with your family, bro. Like,
no. I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is I do think it's affecting his play, and I do think it's affecting the team because I do think it's been a distraction. Now, he's single now. He doesn't have a family to go back to now. So if he decides to play without having that distraction of, oh my God, how's this going to affect my family? I can see a rejuvenated Tom Brady next year. Now that this, now that stuff's like, in the past and he's been able to like really deal with it. You know what I mean? I can see a rejuvenated Tom Brady next year. And if they're healthy next year, I can see the Bucs being good. They got to fix their offensive line. They got to add another receiver. But, again, I think that's stuff that they can possibly do in the offseason. So I don't, again, you asked me before, even the Packers, if they stop being fucking petty and get some weapons in the offseason, I wouldn't be surprised if the Packers are back. I don't think Aaron Rodgers, who just won back-to-back MVPs, I don't think he fell off a cliff. I really think his receivers fucking suck. There's no chemistry there. There's nothing, and that they just need time. They'll be okay. But again, Packers, stop being assholes about it and just get the man some help. That's what I think about that. I mean, that. So I don't know. But no, to answer your question, no, Tom Brady, you don't get to suck. You don't get to walk off into the sunset now, brother. We in this for life now. You made a blood pact. You're gonna play till you're fucking 60, and you're gonna like it. I'm like, no. You don't get to walk off now that Ben's retired and Eli's retired and Phillip Rivers is retired, and all these guys that have been trying their hardest to win another Super Bowl, but you just wouldn't walk away when you should have walked away. No.
He lost. The funniest part is the dudes that were like, "Oh, she's trying to take half his money," and then older guys being like, she's like worth more money than him, right? And I was like, what? And it's like, yeah, she gave up her career and she had the more successful career.
Yeah, they were a GOAT family. They really were.
Yeah, they really were. I'm not saying that definitely isn't impacting him, but at the same time, motherfucker's 45 years old and you knew what you were doing. Like, you don't tell me this was like a shock to you. You knew you were choosing football over your marriage, and it's weird seeing a dude that's 45 that still has no idea what he is without the game. Like,
some people love it, but some people just love it, man. Some people.
I'm not saying he can't love it, but you can tell he doesn't know who he is without this.
Yeah, but that's what made him great. You know what I mean? See, we talk about these athletes all the time, right? There is a psychological. You got to be twisted to be this good. You got to be twisted to be this good. There is I even said with Kai, bro, the amount of basketball he played growing up. Like, I remember sitting down with his dad and I said, yo, man, I'm not even gonna lie to you. If this is what it takes to make it to the NBA, I don't even know if I would make it, even if I had the talent. I said, look, y'all know me. I'm the laziest person, you know. I only do is eat, sleep, and watch TV. He plays more basketball than I eat, sleep, and watch TV combined. And so I'm not surprised that he's that. Not only did he make it to the league, but he's that good because that's the amount of dedication and hours that you got to put into your craft to be that good. So I'm not surprised that a guy like Tom Brady sits around like, yo, without this, what am I? And I think that's part of the thing that Kai's thinking about right now. Like, yo, I did it my whole life to basketball. Now he's at the point where his life where he's like, wait a minute, who am I once you take this ball, this basketball away from me? And I think a lot of athletes are like that. I think that's why you see a lot of athletes, just having issues with that retirement phase, with that family phase, with that identity crisis, because it's like, wait, am I more than just a player? Because in order just to get here, I had to dedicate my entire well-being to this game. So now take away the game from me. What I am. Not everybody can be Iron Man. What are you without the suit? Billionaire philanthropist, playboy.
Billionaire playboy philanthropist.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I mean, not everybody can say that with confidence. I mean, a lot of people don't know what that is. And even some professionals, right? That's a real world thing too. Some people don't know who they are without their job. Their job is their life. Their career is their life. What they do is what they identify as. And so we see a lot of people getting divorced because they put work over family, because that's all they know. That's all they can really be. So, it's sad, it's sad that that's happened to him. Hopefully, maybe when he retires, they can rekindle that relationship. They've been together for a long time. And maybe once he does retire, he'll be able to figure that out. But no, for right now, you in this blood game, bro.
Hey, listen, man, I'm sorry. Ain't nobody crying tears for the GOAT.
No, I'm not.
Like somebody said, I feel bad. Tom Brady's going out like this, on a sub 500 team. He's not playing his best ball. I'm like, I ain't a part of me feel any type of like, oh, whoa.
No, if you play sports enough, 9 times out of 10, like literally, I think we have this romantic version of every GOAT or every great player should walk away with a championship. Like Peyton Manning did it, Ray Lewis did it. I think we forget how rare that is. I think we forget most people go out like Shaq, limping off the court, head down, a shell of themselves. Most people go out like that. That's literally how 99.9% of players end their career, which is why we celebrate the ones that get a chance to go out on top. And even Peyton, let's be real, he didn't do shit that last year. That defense was able to carry him to a title to the point where he had to walk away. You know what I mean? Like I don't think they even wanted him to come back. It's like, hey, Peyton, we won. I think you should, put that goal.
He was terrible that last year.
It was horrible. It was horrible.
It's the most misleading second title for such a great quarterback. And it's telling because there's going to be a generation of kids that don't really remember Peyton Manning. They remember Broncos Peyton Manning, so they remember one ridiculously great season and one trash season, and they kind of just say, he was hit or miss in their memory because that's all they really remember of him. There's going to be a lot more kids that turn into young adults, and a lot more young adults that just right now remember Tom Brady. That's what's going to happen. And you were making the jokes like, there's a whole generation that does not connect Tom Brady with Peyton Manning, Big Ben, Eli, and Phillip Rivers. Even though we do, like, there's a generation that's like, why are you bringing them up? Like, he's with Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes. He's in this era, not that previous era. And that's how long he's played.
That's how long, which is insane to think about. He's played that. He was drafted before all those guys, and he outlived all of them by like a long shot at this point.
He's 45, 100,000 yards.
And again, I think I said this on the last pod. He's still, challenging what we think of now of what an NFL career is going to be, because a lot of people are confused as to why Matt Ryan doesn't look good. I'm like, bro, he's 38. You know what I mean? Like, this is usually when people retire.
That's a 7-year difference right there. Like ridiculous. Think about where Tom Brady was 7 years ago. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't like he was like, oh, Oh, he's trash. It wasn't. That's not what the reality of the
Which is
situation was.
insane to think about that Matt Ryan got drafted so late after Tom Brady started his NFL career, and Matt Ryan might fucking retire before Tom Brady.
Matt Ryan and Joe Flacco came in at the same time, and I want to say it's
The
like almost
08, the 08 season, right?
yeah, that's like 10 years or close to it after Tom Brady.
It's insane, bro. It really is insane that Matt Ryan might retire before Tom Brady.
Matt Ryan will retire for Tom Brady.
That's almost impossible.
Stupid, but I got to rock. Is there anything else you want to?
You can find me at Never For Brett Me. That's NEVA_4 BRETT_ME on Instagram and Twitter.
I'm at Not the Chuck D on all the socials. We're at _dope_blog on IG, the dope blog, all one word, on Twitter, www.thedope.blog.
Because you're watching this on YouTube, please like, share, subscribe, and join us next time as we continue to discuss other people's excellence.
Go Giants. Go Giants.